Good morning. You are listening to National Real Estate Auction Radio. I am your host, Doug Dennison, and we are broadcasting from beautiful St. Augustine, Florida, the nation's oldest city at WFOY 1240 AM studios. Through the power of the Internet, this program is being streamed worldwide on 1240news.com. The show will also be archived on rawauctions.com as they are the host of this program. Additionally, the show will be posted on youtube.com. We're going to be talking about real estate auctions, past auctions, upcoming auctions, different real estate markets across the country. We've got a lot of topics today. We've got several great guests from Maryland. We've got them from Florida. We got them from Georgia. We're pretty excited. Hey, just so you know, our radio show mission statement is to provide an educational experience for listeners in a promotional format for auctions across the country. We are proud to say this is our 17th month on the radio here for this show, and we're very pleased to have you listen in on this beautiful Friday. And again, we're in St. Augustine, Florida, and it is a beautiful day. I'm going to go up to Washington, D.C. in a couple of weeks. As you know, if you've listened to me in the past, very passionate about these 14,000 government surplus properties. I'm going up again to meet with congressional leaders, government leaders, representatives. I'm going to be talking about the value of auctions, the value of making sure that we sell these properties and do not let the taxpayer end up having the burden of this of these holding costs. They're big. Okay, our first call. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning.
You're on the air.
Hi, this is Ken Blows.
Hey, Ken. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good.
Well, good. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your company and where you're from, Ken.
Okay, that's a great question to start with. My name is Ken Blows. I'm Executive Vice President of National Accounts with First Title and Escrow out of Rockville, Maryland, right outside of Washington, where you'll be going soon.
Yes.
To talk about those distressed properties. Great project.
Yep.
We're a full-service title and escrow company nationwide. We have great, in today's world, you need to have great technology. We have a instant GFE and an instant HUD, which really just speeds up the process for anybody making a loan, whether it's a bank, a mortgage company, who have you. So we're excited to be on the program today, and we have, again, nationwide service, and we can help many people, many companies, auctions included, Doug, to process loans, get this market cleaned up and moving.
Well, I'm glad you said cleaned up, because there's a whole bunch of overhang, shadow inventory, whatever you want to call it, out there. But first, I just want to say that, title companies are so important to the whole real estate process. And, if we have a great auction, and, the buyer is happy, I'm happy, the seller's happy, and we don't get it to closing, well, then no one is happy. And so very important on what you guys do, and want to thank you. And, of course, I know your boss, Steve Papermaster, for many years, and he's a leader in your business. Tell us a little bit about your past, Ken. I'm looking at your short bio here, and
Sure.
You've got a lot of experience here.
Sure, I've got a lot of gray hair. You don't see that. We have. I've been with the lending side of the business. I've been with the finance company side of the business, and I've been in the. I'm in the title and escrow side. So I've covered a large gamut. I can express opinions on all of them. I started with finance companies. Making personal loans and sales financing loans. I moved into the mortgage side with companies like Advanta Mortgage, GMAC, and ran the sales operations. Actually put together some of the first pre-approved mortgage and home equity offerings in the market, which moved into the subprime market, which is probably part of the inventory we're cleaning up today. So I won't take total responsibility, but I had my hands in it.
Well, everybody does.
Yeah. Currently, I work with First Title and Escrow. Again, I worked with a company named General American Corporation out of Pittsburgh, where most title companies tend to originate from. Fiserv Fulfillment and Fiserv, you may know that large company. So I've covered the nation pretty much my whole career, and it's been a bunch of cycles, up and down cycles. But I can tell you, Doug, this cycle that we're in right now is one I've never seen. It's got too long of a tail, and I think we need to jump on it. Part of the transaction you're talking about with title is definitely the way you have to have it. You can't buy a property and not know what your title is, clear or unclear. Somebody pops up later on the deed and the title. That's not where you want to go. You want to know right up front in your transaction quickly what the property is all about, and how, if it's clear to close and you get it closed, then you guys are in good shape. So title is very important, but it's very silent. Nobody really sees it or hears about it. It shows up on the HUD at closing, and no fanfare or anything like that, but it's very important.
Well, it is very important, and our listeners, so you know, are real estate investors, real estate brokers, the general public, real estate media, bankers, government officials. But for the general public, try to explain why you would want title policy and why that's important. Get it right down to the bare bones for the general public.
Sure. If you go back in time to history, William Penn and the guys that were tracking, putting the country together and tracking out the land, and it was simple. It was either William Penn that owned it or some other settler that owned it, and you didn't have any problems. A lot of the things were taken off from there. But as properties change hands, they change their complexity.
Mm-hmm.
They get divided, subdivided, some parcels get peeled off for family members. And when you go to purchase a property, you want to make sure what you purchase is what you get. And later on, after you own it and after you have your mortgage, you don't have a relative knock on the door saying, "I want my house back," or that 5 acres over there, that 2.5 acres, I'm going to put my home on because I still own that. And it really protects you, and you pay an insurance premium, and that insurance protects that when we do title searches, we're guaranteed we do a complete search, and the property's clear and free, and you can go ahead and purchase it. Without that, you could see where mortgages would be all over the world, and people would have property, and there'd be all kinds of disputes and eruptions because there was no way to have a clear record of what went on with the land. And that's what titles are all about.
So it's an insurance policy making sure that you know what you're buying, that no one else has claim to the property that you think you're buying. And again, for the general public, that's very important.
Yep.
And when you get to the closing table, especially if you're a first-time home buyer, I mean, it's difficult. I mean, there's mounds of paperwork, and you get somebody saying sign here, sign here, sign here, even though you have the information in front of you. Unless you're in a business, it's very difficult. Is there any movement to make real estate contracts and the whole process just a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more user-friendly for the general public?
Well, there has been. There's been some recent changes to the HUD disclosure, which is the disclosure that is used at the closing table to explain to the customer what fees are involved, what the selling price is, what the buyer will sell if it's a purchase, what the buyer will pay, what the seller will pay. And it really has made it easier for a consumer to walk through that and understand exactly what transaction fees are in play. One of them would be title insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And there's application fees and all these things that the banks and mortgage companies apply to a loan. And prior to the changes, it was very difficult to read, and that's why you needed many times an attorney at the table to explain that, and you still do today. You really want to have that, or a qualified, certified closing agent at the table. So if you're buying a distressed property or foreclosure, or if you're just buying your neighbor's house because you want to move up,
right?
The process is the same, and it ensures that it's right now it's about as simple as can be. Although there's still some complexity to it, but it is getting easier. The faster a mortgage can close, the better it is for everybody with rate locks. I mean, rates are at a great spot right now, and I think our Mr. Bernanke is going to try to keep those down. So the market, from a purchase standpoint, I think is very ready to go. We just have to get these distressed properties on the market, somehow get them marketed and get people buying. I actually, our headquarters is in Rockville, Maryland, which is right outside of Washington. But I reside in the great state of Pennsylvania, so we're getting ready for winter. We're all looking around our neighborhoods and looking at properties that are, there are foreclosures out there, and getting ready for winter. It's going to be an interesting tale to this foreclosure cycle here, because oil prices are going to be, I believe, skyrocketing with all the saber rattling going on in Iraq. And unemployment, even though it's still high, it is high, but the underemployed is where I think the ding in the market's going to come, because if you're underemployed and you have a house and you've had it for 10 years, and now all of a sudden you're paying a huge cost of fuel, not just for your car,
right,
but to most of the Northeast people who heat with oil, I think it's going to be a tipping point. It's going to be a point where this winter is going to be a little tough for a lot of homeowners, and we really need a vehicle to help them out of their properties if they indeed want to do that, or a vehicle to help them stay in.
Mm-hmm.
So I you and I had talked briefly about the magic forecast for the year, but I don't know if I can do that. But I can say I sense it's going to be an interesting winter in front of us.
Well, you and I have been around for a while. I won't disclose that number, but we've seen the ups and downs. We know there's cycles. When you came on the show, you did say that you hadn't seen quite a cycle like this one. What do you mean? And again, base that on past experience with cycles.
Yeah, I mean the mortgage industry will have rate cycles. Rates will go up, rates will go down. That'll slow the mortgage process down and slow the purchase activity, the refinance activity. That was always a major indicator. But now we've got a mixture of things that I think are really driving the market today the way it is, and that's not just rates, not just capacity at the banks or Wall Street's capacity to buy securities, and that whole trickle-down effect. But the brakes have been put on as far as the underwriting. Mm-hmm. Underwriting has become much more in control, which is a good thing.
Yep.
And underwriting is sort of opening and shutting the portals for the mortgages to flow through, not just for the consumer, but for Wall Street and for the investors. But also you have now the impact of unemployment, you have the impact of fuel, you have the impact of underemployed. It's just, and it's a longer cycle, and it's not one fix. It's not just someone coming in saying, okay, we'll address the rates and bring the market back on. We've lost so much equity in our housing market,
yes,
that it is just difficult for a homeowner to live in their house, realize they're underwater, realize the economy. You know, maybe their position, their job, they're either underemployed again or unemployed.
Mm-hmm.
And you put all those combinations together, and you know, what do you have? You have a long tail on the market, not a traditional down curve, and it's just going to be a while for things to come back. I was in the manufactured housing business a few years back,
right.
but back in the 80s when the oil patches had a lot of manufactured housing, and there were you know, around the wells and around the developments, and when those wells started to shut down, people lived in a lot of manufactured housing.
Yep.
A lot of nice housing, but they lost their jobs and they had nowhere to go. There was no employment, and they would actually put the keys on if they were nice, they put the keys on the step.
Yep.
They got in their cars and drove away. And we as a company owned the mortgages on those properties, and we had to take those manufactured houses, have them refurbished. Fortunately, you could do that. Try to sell them in other markets, but it was a tremendous loss to the industry. It was not the whole U.S. mortgage industry. It was a segment of it, but it was devastating. And we're sort of there now. We have people who are just walking away from their houses. I mean, even the government. It sounds like you're you know, I'm not as familiar as you are with the government surplus properties,
mm-hmm.
but they're sitting out there not earning, not paying taxes. They're not being developed, and that's the same that happens to the real estate consumer market. The house goes downhill and impacts the neighborhoods, and that's sort of where we are, and that's a different market than I've ever seen.
It's very interesting you say that, because there is a correlation with the house that's in your cul-de-sac that's foreclosed on, and even with the best property manager, even with the best banking intentions and lenders' intention, that house does not get cared for like a house with the owners in it.
Right.
And so whether it's the grass that is high, whether it's the pool that's green, whether it's the window that's broken, or whether it's the lights that are inside at night with you know, kids running around in it.
Right.
It affects all the neighbors. And when I talk about the 14,000 government surplus properties, we're not talking about housing. This isn't residential. This isn't Freddie Mac. This isn't Fannie Mae. This is all government surplus properties that the government has said, these are properties that we as a government do not want, and we just haven't been able to make enough push where the government says, you know what, if we're not going to use them, let's sell them. And as always, I always go on this show and talk about this post office in Washington, D.C., that has been vacant for 10 years and costs the American taxpayers $6 million a year in holding cost. Now,
wow.
This is one property, but there are other properties like that. But that's $60 million that the American taxpayer had no clue that they were paying for. And there's 14,000 of these properties, and some of them can be a sliver of land, you know. But these are office buildings, these are warehouses, these are tracts of land that the government and the entities and all the institutions in the government have said, we can't use them. And if you're a private businessman and you've got a property, and let's say your portfolio is, 10 properties or whatever, and you've got this property over there that you haven't used in 2 years, and it still cost you a whole bunch of money to hold it, it's just common sense that you're going to sell it. And that's what we need, and that's what I've been up there to try to tell the different institutions and the congressional leaders that, hey, this is something that is a win-win situation for for everybody, the taxpayers. Once that property is sold, number one, it goes on the tax base, just like you said, which the municipalities certainly could use that. But also, it's like a mini community development project, because all of a sudden you've got a new owner who's going to hire new people, employees, contractors. You get a whole bunch of new people coming and going. The local restaurant next door feels some of that. The local dry cleaner next door feels some of that. The parking person down the street feels some of that. And all of the businesses that have really kind of suffered with this abandoned property for whatever the years are, whether it's 3, 5, 10, whatever, now get their value of their property going up rather than going down. So it's a crazy thing, and I'm looking forward to going up again. Congressman Denham and Congressman Micah have been very, very involved in pushing this, and so I look forward to seeing them and their staff again. And it's really the Senate that needs to push this now, because the bill in the House has already been pushed. So, Ken, tell us, I got off on a little sidetrack there, but it's an important thing. Hopefully it's a campaign issue down the road, because, the GAO, the Government Accounting Office, has said that if we could sell these properties, the American taxpayer would receive more than $15 billion worth of benefit. I mean, that's nothing to sneeze about.
That is nothing to sneeze about, no.
So tell us how to reach you, and also website and email and telephone number. You have a great company. Steve Papermaster, again, is an industry leader. I know you guys go to the meetings across the country, and you deal with lenders. All of that stuff is right in our wheelhouse as far as what you know and what you see. So for people who want to work with you, whether they be lenders, whether they be individuals, whatever, who do we call, and how do we contact you?
You can certainly call me, because my function is exactly what you described, to develop new business opportunities for First Title.
Okay.
You can also reach out to Steve Papermaster. We are First Title and Escrow. We're at 7361 Calhoun Place, Suite 200, Rockville, Maryland, 20855. My office phone is 610-346-1920, and our website, which has a lot of information on it, is www.firsttitleservices.com. That's all one word, except com is out there. So firsttitleservices.com. You can get me on the website. You can get Steve on the website. Take a look at it. We actually have a lot of good information in there. We're also running some social media campaigns. We have a blog out there. We have some press releases out there. I actually think it's coming out in your market about challenging title companies and mortgage companies in particular, on how to work with their title company more efficiently, and what they should be looking for. It's not that we're providing good information to the mortgage market to help make them more efficient, what they should look for, and we've been getting a good reaction on all of that. So reach out to our website. Reach out to you'll see some press releases, some blogs out there, and you can get all that access through our website. So.
Hey, Ken, very good. Thank you for coming on. Give my best to Steve and the whole crew there. You have a wonderful Friday and a wonderful weekend. Appreciate you coming on the show.
All right. Thank you much, Doug.
Take care.
Bye.
All right. Ken Bose from First Title and Escrow, Executive Vice President, National Sales Director. Good talking to him. We're going to go for a break. Then we'll be back. We'll be talking more about the 14,000 government surplus properties and different markets around the area.
MarkNet Alliance is a national, membership-based network of 41 auction companies. Our companies are successful auction professionals with proven track records and thriving businesses. The MarkNet companies have a staff of over 540 employees who are working hard every day to meet the goals of their clients during our ever-changing economy. MarkNet companies are able to achieve these goals through cutting-edge technologies and ever-growing investor pools. To view the hundreds of auctions currently being conducted, or for more information, visit marknetalliance.com.
Okay, we are back. Again, we're having a little technical difficulties trying to get our next caller in, a CPA from the South Florida area. We're hoping that he will call back in. We've been talking about government surplus properties, 14,000 of them to be real sure about the problem. We have really gone to Washington 3 or 4 times. We've been talking to congressional leaders. We've been talking to the GAO, the GSA, CBO, and all of those government agencies that their job is to protect us and do the job that we've really put them in position to do. And with 14,000 government surplus properties, the taxpayers are spending a whole bunch of money that they don't know about. Okay, let's see if we can get this call. Good morning, you're on the air.
Yeah, hi, Doug.
Yay, Joel. Yeah,
I was calling from the office. I don't know what the problem was.
No problem. I wanted to make.
I'm on my cell, so hopefully we won't have a problem with that.
Okay. I'm hoping that we can hear you. We're having a little difficulty. You're on your cell right now?
Yeah. You want to call me back at the office?
No, that's not possible. You need to call here. I can hear you a little bit. We're going to kind of amp up your voice so that the listeners can hear you, and let's see if we can do that. Tell us who you are, Joel, and where you're from and what company you're with.
Okay, I'm Joel Galpern. Been a CPA, believe it or not, of 42 years, even though I act like I'm 20 or 30. But knock on wood, passed the exam early. But I'm with the firm of Kaufman and Rossin, an associate principal here, which I actually call us 2 things. One is Miami Heat of Florida CPA firms, which is a bold remark. And another way, also similar to the Ritz-Carlton from a service point of view, we're about 330 strong, and we deal with many. We have so many resources that from top to bottom, just like in the national firms, except that the culture here is that of a 10 to 20 person firm with the personal service and really staying on top of somebody's situation. Everything is really custom tailored for the client.
Well, nice. Joel, you and I have known each other since I moved to Miami, I want to say in 1981 when I was down there, just fresh out of college and my first job with the YMCA. I was down at the Miami YMCA. You were on my board, and you were on the chamber, and it was a pleasure to work with you. Since that time, you've been a real estate investor, and of course you help people who have real estate issues and want to get tax advice. What do you think about this general market? I mean, you've seen the ups and downs and cycles for many years. What's the deal with this particular market?
Well, we know one thing. We know that this has been about as bad as any cycle of real estate ever, and I think that's just general knowledge. And I don't care who you are, no matter what you do. I don't know many people that foresaw this and went ahead and sold all their real estate
right.
as the when the market rose greatly and then took a dive.
Yeah,
it's tough. The Miami Herald today actually had a nice article that Miami is the second fastest, I believe, city in the country now next to Phoenix in rebounding on prices, and last year the prices went up about 4.4%. Now, of course, we know that it's gone down so much that at least it seems like it's plateaued, and then and now is at least rebounding back. I wouldn't expect, except for small little pockets, maybe like South Beach has been phenomenal, and some other areas of the country, but don't expect prices to really zoom up. But, for years and years and years, when we learned real estate, we learned that you might the prices might go up a little bit each year, and then as you smooth out the ups and downs, it's usually straight up. And with your basic concepts of real estate, it's usually a winner. So it's a really good time to jump back in, and there's all sorts of opportunities.
I was going to ask you about that because number one, I want to really congratulate the South Florida market for rebounding so quickly. I don't think anyone thought they were going to do, especially with the condominium issues that were in South Florida. Literally tens of thousands of unused, abandoned, vacant, half-done condominiums when the whole crisis started to happen. And you would have thought that would have taken 5, 6, 10 years to really get rid of. And because of the market and because of international business, South America, you guys really have done well. And so the Miami Herald article is spot on.
Yeah, it's but you still have to look at your individual pocket, your individual market situation. It's nothing's easy, as I say. I have a lot of favorite pet sayings, and that's certainly one of them. But as time goes on, I'm sure that we'll see at some point in the future, whether it's 2, 3 years or 5 years or 7, 8 years, we'll see a nice spike in the prices, especially as more and more people keep on investing down here. I think as long as the sun shines, then regardless of any glitches in the market, you're going to see prices holding pretty well in the long run. Unless we have something crazy that happens, like what happened over the last 5, 7 years.
Yeah. Well, do you think that the market has turned? Do you think we're at the bottom? And no one has a crystal ball, but do you see that? Is it a really good time to make an investment in real estate right now?
Well, I believe that of course, when you invest in property, not many people really do this, but it's always best to, as a good friend of mine in his book said, buy right. So negotiation plays a big part.
Sure.
And of course, it's just like shopping and comparing. It's like buying a pair of shoes. You're going to shop all over the place and compare the prices. But real estate, if you put the time in, then you can get terrific rewards by negotiating well, and of course having a good CPA, have a good attorney, and other related professionals on your team. And the real astute investors do that.
Tell us what a good CPA and a great tax firm will do for an investor. Why do they come to you? How do you help them?
I'll tell you one thing. I have something. If somebody, I'll give you my email because I have a nice outline on how to analyze income-producing real estate. Mm-hmm. This was from a publication I did a number of years ago, which was called Business Basics, a guide for business. And this has a nice little step-by-step approach with an example there, and where you basically just analyze what the seller says, and you make your adjustments based on what you think the real numbers are, or the numbers that you can do with the property. In this case, my example, it's on an apartment building, and if anyone wants to get a copy of the outline, I'll be happy to email it back. What they should do is email me, and it's jgalpern, GALPERN, kaufmanrossin.com, KAUFMANROSSIN.com. And you can also go to the website, which of course is kaufmanrossin.com, and see services. So we can help you analyze the property, many times even with the attorney, help you with negotiations. It all depends on what's needed. Now, we're not realtors, we're not attorneys, and of course, everybody's situation, we're only talking generalities. They must speak to their own financial professionals for the advice that particularly pertains to them. Of course, there are general rules, but each person has their own custom situation, their goals, their risks, and that may change at different stages of their life. So it's like I say, when you're sick, don't be your own doctor. And we can most certainly help with analyzing the properties, and of course working with the attorneys also, with the whole team. And when we've done that, it's been very successful. Today, one thing that's really, really important is the interest rates are a gift, and we don't know what it's going to be in the future. We don't know what's going to happen with the presidential election.
Sure.
Depending who's elected, we may see, or either way, we may see rises in interest rates. So if you can right now, this is a great time to finance. Try to get your best rate you can with the best terms. And I'm especially talking about commercial. Of course, residential, you hear the rates all the time. But in commercial, what's really important, there are a few things. One is try your best to not have a balloon on the loan, which means that a lump sum would be due at some point in time.
Right.
See if you could have it paid straight out, whether it's 15 years, 20 years, or 30 years. And many banks, they say, no, too bad. Here's the balloon. That's the way it is. It might be every 5 years, and then you don't know what things are going to be like 5 years from now. That it may be difficult. Money might tighten up, and rates might jump way up. But so you try to get, if you have to have a balloon, try to get it at least 15 or 20 years out, and then also make sure you don't have a prepayment penalty, and then also try to get the best deal you can as far as few points as possible, and also the junk fees. So when you work with an attorney or you work with us, we can most likely help you and save you tons of money. I like to say that most of the time our advice costs nothing, because we usually help make and save lots of dough for our clients. By the way, this December, Kaufman Rossin is celebrating our 50th anniversary.
Wow.
Yeah, really, really tremendous. Going to have one heck of a party in December.
Very nice.
We're based out of Coconut Grove, but I'm in the Fort Lauderdale office, in the Broward County office. And we have offices also in Boca Raton and in Palm Beach. But of course, with simple communication nowadays, we deal with over 36 countries around the world, and of course we deal with people all over the U.S. So it doesn't matter where you are anymore. It's as long as you have excellent communication with the clients, and it depends what needs to be done.
Hey, you and I talked a little bit yesterday. It seems like trading property for tax advantages is coming back a little bit. Tell us about that, if you would.
Okay. This was really, really great in vogue. A good friend of mine was actually the top 1031 person, the senior vice president at Bayview Financial, which is a huge group.
Yep.
And he traveled the country at real estate and mortgage conventions, and he went from him and an assistant to about 80-something people under him. And, of course, that was when it was huge. Now, of course, things have changed, although now for people who've had their property for a long time, or possibly have a real nice paper profit on their property, you're going to start to see 1031 exchanges coming back into vogue, where sellers can actually, as long as they invest in a property or properties, and it's a very sophisticated transaction, and again, you need the proper CPA and attorney on your team, that knows all this, then you can actually defer the tax with in this situation. I had one situation. It was a while back when South Beach was starting to develop. One of my clients had an oceanfront hotel, a little one, an old place,
Right.
and he ended up getting a deal where he was paid all cash, except that what he did was he did a 1031 exchange. He didn't touch the money, put it with a third-party agent, an escrow agent, a qualified intermediary is what the term is called, and ended up buying a few properties. And in effect, in that situation, it wasn't even that big of a property, but it was big enough that this client saved roughly, or deferred, let's say, about $500,000 in income taxes.
Nice.
It was pretty remarkable, and that's starting to come back. Like we have a favorite saying at the office: "It depends," and "it depends" means every situation must be custom tailored.
Yes.
So whatever I say, naturally, it's got to apply to your own situation.
Well, I agree completely. And again, you've been a tax leader in South Florida for you can't have been in it for 42 years, because we're about the same age. I'm not even going to listen to that, and you're still 19 or 20, just like me. So.
We think like that. That's all. We're in style.
And I remember you were like a championship caliber handball player, and now you're in ballroom dancing and enjoying that. And if I remember correctly, your son is now in real estate. So I'm very happy you and I have gone way. Again, 30 plus years back. Give us how we can reach you, Joel, one more time: telephone number, emails, website.
Okay. The phone number, you can call me in my direct line. It's 954-315-7180. Again, 954-315-7180. The email is jgalpern@kaufmanrossin.com, or you can go on kaufmanrossin.com and look me up. I'm an associate principal, and email me from there. And let's see, you don't need to. You'll have all the addresses and everything, but of
Yes.
course, today phone or email is the easiest way to contact somebody. By the way, a shout out to my daughter Andrea. Today is her 30th birthday.
Ah, great.
Yeah, you know her.
Yes.
When she was a little kid, she's a web designer, and she put together a sophisticated symposium of about eight manager tech people at Adobe headquarters in San Francisco a month ago.
Nice. You
So
sound like the proud parent.
Today's a big day for her.
You sound like the proud parent. Joel, thank you. And for our listeners, if you want to know more about 1031s or tax advantages for real estate, you need to call Joel Galpern and get in touch with him. Joel, thank you so much for calling on this Friday. I look forward to talking to you again, having you on the show again, because we could talk for hours.
Doug, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much. I hope somebody got something out of this.
Absolutely. Take care now. Bye-bye. All right, that was Joel Galpern. He's a CPA of Kaufman, Rossin and Company, CPAs in the Fort Lauderdale area. And again, as I said, Joel and I have been friends for many, many years. He is a business leader and tax expert in the South Florida market for many, many years, and a shout out to him and the family. Let's go for that quick break, and then we will be right back talking about auctions. All right, we're back listening to the National Real Estate Auction Radio Show. I am your host, Doug Dennison. Our sponsor is Rowell Auctions. They are a national real estate auction firm that started in 1936. They do online auctions, on-site auctions, and ballroom auctions. They have offices in Florida, New Jersey, California, Georgia, and have alliances with auctioneers and real estate brokers across the country. They do government auctions, bankruptcy auctions, and much more. And let's go to our caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Doug.
Allison, hey, I was just talking about Rowell Auctions. Again, you are right at the head of that organization, taking calls, giving information, and we want to talk about auction schedule. What's coming up for Rowell Auctions?
Quite a bit. This Saturday, we've got 89 anchors in Walton County, Florida.
Okay.
September the 18th will be they'll be at the Hilton Garden Inn, and also online bidding for several assets, which is Tuesday. On the 20th, we have more several assets, which is also going to be online and at the hotel. 25th, we've got over 100 properties for Valdosta, rental income potential.
Mm-hmm.
That's also online. We have Habitat for Humanity properties set for October the 2nd, which is also online.
Well, you're quite busy, and I appreciate you calling in. Again, you are the executive producer of this show, so besides taking care of all of these auctions, and I think some of these properties are going to be absolute. Some of them are bank-owned, foreclosed assets, so pretty exciting if you're an investor and a buyer, potential buyer of real estate. These are where you can research and find out what's happening in the area. Give us the website, if you would, please,
Sure.
Allison.
It's RowellAuctions.com, and that's RowellAuctions.
And what about, is there a number that they can call you if they want to have more information, and you can get them to the real estate person that's handling that auction?
Sure. It's 800-323-8388, and we do have quite a few absolute auctions. It's set for September 20th is absolute.
Mm-hmm.
September 25th is absolute.
Whoa.
October the 2nd is absolute.
Whoa.
Then we have 2 properties in California that are selling absolute.
What does
Beautiful.
absolute mean for our
minimum,
general public?
No reserves. It will go to contract regardless of price.
Okay, so if you're a buyer, you want to go to these that are absolute because you know it's going to sell. You can do your due diligence knowing that there's going to be a sale, and you might want to raise your hand one more time because you don't want the other person to get it. So I want to thank you, Allison. Give us the website one more time, if you would.
RowellAuctions.com.
Very good. Hey, Allison, thank you so much for calling in from Georgia, and lots of auctions coming up. It looks like we have a couple hundred properties, bank, foreclosed properties, and absolute properties, which are always the best. Thanks again, Allison.
Take care, Doug.
Bye-bye. All right. Just heard from Georgia. So we've had Florida on, we've had Georgia on, and we've had, Ken is actually from the Philadelphia area, but his firm is out of Maryland. So we've had a great mix of people calling in. They're really real estate experts, and they want to let you know how they can help. So make sure you give them a call. And again, I appreciate you listening to me today. As I said, I'm going up to Washington, D.C. in a couple of weeks. We're gonna get to the bottom of these 14,000 government surplus properties for you, the taxpayer, because you're paying millions and millions of dollars that you don't need to in holding cost. Want to thank you again for listening on this Friday from St. Augustine, Florida. I am Doug Dennison. Thanks for listening.